Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle,
the Christian Girl's Guide to Modern Dating.
We're here to help you date with confidence while honoring the Lord and to show you that your identity and contentment are in Christ. We're going to give you the tools that you need to date successfully and be set up well for success in a godly marriage.
If you've ever felt like you didn't really belong with any of the extremes in dating today, well, you're not alone. Neither did we. And that's why we're here looking for the middle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Looking for the Middle. You just heard our intro. I always forget. I'm like, oh, they just heard 20 seconds of us explaining what we're doing,
who we are, what we're doing, all that stuff.
But here we are in another very exciting topic. This was a last minute ad.
Yeah.
Y'all, I think this is the first time we've planned a whole season and then made this many changes this quickly.
I know. I don't know why we bother planning it out anymore. We just need to have like a grab bag of topics and then be like, well, what do we feel like talking about today?
That's true. That's not a bad idea.
That's true. Because we like get together and it's like, I'm not in a serious mood. I don't want to talk about something serious. Or we're going to have to do research on this and I don't want to do research today. Or, whatever. So
I feel like what'll probably happen, because for the first bit of the season, we've pre-recorded these a good bit ahead of time. And so they're more of, hey, let's do a rough outline and then kind of talk about this. Whereas we're doing that so we can get ahead and not be so regimented to we have to record every single week once the season starts, so that we can take those days to, hey, we are going to research about this heavier topic and then not have to record it right afterwards.
So the heavy ones
will
be at the end.
we're gonna backload everything. So it'll be great. We'll start you off real happy and hopeful and then be like,
whammo,
boom. No, but it's gonna be fun. So today before we get into talking about decluttering your dating life, let me give you our normal 2 reminders. 1, if you're not following us on social media, now would be a great time to start. We are on Instagram at LFTM_podcast and on Facebook at Looking for the Middle Podcast. If you really want to get in touch with us or engage with us, Instagram's your best bet.
Yes.
And then we have all sorts of fun links at our Instagram too, where we get to hear ideas from you guys. There are free downloads. You can get our episodes there. All that fun stuff is on Instagram. I
do want to just throw out one thing. You mentioned about Instagram being the best way of getting in touch with us. We're on there and we're checking it more than others. Instagram is so weird when it's like the first time someone messages us, it gets put in this other folder and then they just kind of disappear. So one, if you messaged us and it was a long time ago and we haven't answered, we try to get to all of our DMs as much as we can.
Yeah.
So if we haven't answered, send it again. And it'll pop it up to the top of our list. But then 2, I think at this point, Instagram is probably a better bet for getting in touch with us than email, maybe. Mm-hmm. So if you have a question, send it to us there. Or if you have a really long question that you can't send on Instagram, email us and then maybe shoot us a quick DM. Hey, I emailed you, so that we can kind of check for it in our inbox. But just wanted to throw that out there for everyone.
Good call. And then the other reminder is our newsletter. This is something we've been doing this is our second season, doing newsletters. So we will send that out tomorrow. It goes out every Thursday, and we kind of recap what we talked about in the episode today, but then also give you some extra resources that go along with this particular topic, or just other fun resources about dating, singleness, all that jazz. And you get a Hallmark movie of the week, which is Bethany's forte now.
I'm gonna have to up my game. I mean, I'm on top of things at Christmas, but throughout the year, I'm gonna have to do some research.
Get with it. So yeah, it's a good time. So you can sign up for that either by going to our website, lookingforthemiddle.com, or you can go to the link in our Instagram bio. There's a button for that there too. But enough with the reminders. Y'all know the drill. It's Bethany's turn for question of the day.
Yes. Okay. So I went to Google to find a question.
Always a good idea.
And this thing says the only list of icebreaker questions you'll ever need. Oh. And since everything on the internet is true, I knew I had struck gold. So that's where our question is coming from today. Are you ready for this?
Yeah. I'm going to need you to send me this link when the episode's over.
Okay. So here's the question, and you have to be honest.
Oh, man.
I
say that like I'm not normally.
What does your legitimately
Okay.
typical work from home uniform look like?
Oh, great question. Fabletics leggings.
Okay.
With either a let's see. It's either a workout top with like a sweater over it, or just a giant sweatshirt with my slippers. And I've been wearing my hair down more because I've been getting headaches if I wear it up for too long, because used to it would be a messy butt. Now when it gets hotter here, that may change. But normally it's just, hey, the whole I woke up like this thing is very much me. I don't put makeup on unless I'm going somewhere.
Neither do I.
And then I sleep in my earrings.
Oh, really? I can't. I sleep in my cartilage piercing. It never comes out, but...
Well, I just got new earrings from Amazon that the backs are like these little screw-on, like, metal balls.
I wanted to try those.
And they don't hurt when you lay on them.
Ooh, okay.
So I've started sleeping in them.
I'll have to try that.
They are a pain to get off if you've got long nails. I figured that out last night.
Because you have to unscrew them. Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, so that's what... I literally
try that.
Wake up and... I used to work in my pajamas, and then I was reading a lot of things on Pinterest about how you at least need to, like, change into semi-normal clothing just to get your mindset in the right place. So I'll put on like workout-ish clothes, but yeah, it's very comfy.
Oh, I'm all distracted on the earrings now.
Okay, yes.
Because I've got two, my ears are double pierced, but my second piercing, I never can find earrings that I like a lot. And so it'll close back up, and I really want to open it back up, but I hate sleeping in earrings.
Yeah.
And so I've several times, I've basically re-pierced my ears. And then I take them out because I'm like, ugh, I don't want to sleep in them. So now I'm like, ooh, I got to try this.
Well, they sent me like 18 pairs. So let me just give you some.
Have a couple?
Yeah, before you leave. I'll give you some.
That would be perfect.
But what do you wear when you work from home?
Okay.
Also, before you start, can we just talk about... We get so much crap, y'all, from some of our friends because we work from home. So Bethany goes in... You go in more than I do.
Like...
once or twice a week. Okay,
yeah.
I used to go into the office once a week, and then I got permission to not do that, where I only have to go in for monthly meetings now. But our friends, now Lauren, my roommate, doesn't, but like Lindsay and Matt were calling y'all out, and like a couple other people, y'all, they give us so much crap because we work from home. And it's like, look, I didn't choose this life; it chose me. So
that's what I tell them. I'm like, you're just jealous. Now stop. Jealousy
exactly.
is a sin, and you need to cut it out.
They sent me pictures of the sunrise the other morning when they were both on their way to work. It was beautiful. I slept right through it, but it was gorgeous.
Yes.
So,
oh my word, yes, my night owl self loves it. Okay, I am similar. I usually go with joggers as opposed to leggings.
Okay.
But yeah, big sweatshirt. My fuzzy blanket while I'm sitting on the couch with my laptop is also basically part of my uniform at this point.
Yep.
So here's a kind of a follow-up question: what time of the day do you actually shower?
I shower at night.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was gonna say, I'm normally like, it's my lunch break. Let me go shower.
Oh gosh, no, I shower at night.
I forget about that. Yeah.
The only time I shower in the morning is either if I'm having a really hard time waking up, or if I thought I could push my hair one more day and I have somewhere to go that day and I just look in the mirror and be like, can't do it. But yeah, I always shower at night because I let my hair air dry.
Oh yeah, you're one of those people that can do that.
I can do that.
That must be nice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so, good question.
Fun. Okay.
Y'all just learned way more about what we wear in our grooming habits.
We're talking about our showering habits. What are we doing?
Hey, y'all want to know more about our lives? This is how we do it. All right. This is how we do it. Okay. Here's my segue into one thing that you should also know about our habits is that we don't typically spring clean.
No.
Well, okay. I take that back. It's not spring though when I did it, but I did a nice like clean/purging day in my room several weeks ago, but it was still in January, so it's not spring. So
I'll have solid summer purge last year.
I'll have random times, but not spring does not come around like, oh, I have to clean everything.
Nah.
But funny enough, we had the idea of what if we applied spring cleaning to dating?
Yeah.
And hence forth came this episode of Decluttering Your Dating Life. So as spring is now almost upon us. Yes. I guess it's in like 2 weeks?
Depending on where you live.
Officially.
Yeah.
There's no telling what the weather will be like by the time this airs. It's 48 degrees outside right now, but it'll be probably 84 by the time we get to this. But we wanted to walk y'all through. We came up with 4 specific ways that you can declutter your dating life, because I feel like dating is just like any other area of your life, like your closet. Like you don't purge your closet, it will start to overflow.
And you don't realize until it's overflowing that you have more stuff. You know what I mean?
And more than you need.
Exactly.
Stuff you don't use. Stuff
that's
doesn't
unnecessary.
fit anymore. Things you've outgrown.
Yes.
There's the metaphor there. So, but we don't really, I feel like if it's not a physical thing that we look at and be like, oh, I am literally running out of space in my closet. I need to quit buying clothes or purge. We don't think about other areas of our life that way, but I've never really thought about dating like this, if I'm being honest. Like, this was a really random idea, but I think it's good to do these 4 things we're going to talk about today. So and you may not need to do all 4 of them depending on where you're at and what's going on in your specific dating life, but I really would encourage you to think through, okay, even if I just pick one right now, like, that's something I'm really bad at. It's like, oh, I'm going to go clean everything. And then I do nothing.
Right.
And I'm on
You're
YouTube.
Overwhelmed. And you're like, there's no way I'm going to get all of this done.
No, I'm watching other people clean.
Yes. For real, though.
Yeah. But, even if it's just, hey, let me start with one. Pick one thing on this list. Work on it. And I promise you it's going to make your dating life better, easier, and just give you room to breathe in one way or another. Yeah. So let's talk about our first way to declutter your dating life.
Okay.
Go for it, Bethany.
Okay. So the first thing, and I think this, if you're going to just pick one, I feel like this probably should be the one. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll probably say that about all of them. But yes.
But she just told us she wants to do all the things. So, no, but the first one will be decluttering your list. And ladies, you all know what that list is. We all have one. That list of things that the perfect husband for you would be. And it can run the gamut of things from important and spiritual and godly to superfluous and silly and very preferential. There's nothing wrong with either of those things, obviously, but they have to be kept in the right perspective, kept in the right order. And kind of like with the closet, it's really easy to, oh, I should add this to my list. Oh, I should add that to my list. Oh, this would be really nice to have. Or, oh, I don't want that, or whatever. And before you know it, this list that you have in your mind has 48 things on it. When all you're really doing then is kind of, making the dating pool smaller and smaller and smaller, but you're also kind of putting yourself in a box.
Yeah.
That in a way you're saying, okay, I know what's best for me. And in some ways we do. I know that I would be better with this type versus that type. This complements, this works well, or this doesn't. Those things. But if you just keep adding and adding and adding to that list, you're kind of asserting your own thoughts. And I don't want to say putting God in a box, but almost mentally that's kind of what you're doing, saying, okay, I'm it can become a list of demands almost, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, it's important to think about, when was the last time you decluttered your list, or have you ever?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever kind of redid my list, it had been a big gap of time that had passed between the first time I ever wrote it down and then when I started making edits to it. But then once I started editing, it became more frequent. And I think it's really important to do that not immediately after you get out of a relationship, but maybe a few months after. Look and see, okay, well, this guy had number 4, number 12, and number 18. Were they really that important? Mm-hmm. If they were, great, they stay. If not, okay, well, I'm not gonna worry about that. Yes. It's like with my closet. I have a rule: every 6 months I purge my closet. If I did not wear it that season, it goes in the donate pile. And it's the same thing here. If I haven't really found this to be as important as I thought it would in my last relationship or my last 2 relationships,
it goes in the donate pile.
Exactly. And so it's the same kind of idea, but really think about, have I ever decluttered my list before? If I have, when was the last time I did it? And is it time to do it again to bring it up to date, so to speak?
Yeah. And I do want to kind of just point out, we talk about girls in their lists and having lists. We've done several episodes really around this. And just to clarify, we are not at all saying you have to have a list on paper of things and that is a requirement or that's expected or whatever. You don't have to do that. And even if you don't, you have a mental list. Like, it's there, like, oh, I really want this, or I like that. And so that, it may just be an edit of what's in your head, even too.
Yeah, that's very true. It does not have to be a tangible, like physical thing.
No.
But we all have things, like you said, that are like, oh, this would be nice.
Yeah.
Or, oh man, I really hope he's over 6 feet tall.
Right.
That will forever be my example.
I know.
But yeah, so if, like Bethany said, I think she's right. As much as I'd like to joke that you should do all of these, if you're going to do one thing,
Yeah.
this would be the one that we would encourage you to start with. Because this is one thing that I think we all have in common. These others may kind of ebb and flow. Like they may not necessarily apply to everybody. I feel like this is the one thing that will go across the board. So with that in mind, before we move on, Bethany, like what would you say is going to be the benefit of decluttering your list? Like how, don't just, hey, y'all go do this and then it'll be great. Like what specifically is going to come as a result from you decluttering your list?
I think the biggest thing that you will take away from that is it's almost like when you're looking at your list and you have this narrow list of things that you really want in someone, and most of them, they may be totally fine, but the more things that are on your list and the more that you stick very rigidly to it, it's like these blinders that are getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And if you're okay being in that place and having a very small dating pool, then so be it. Like that's your prerogative. But I think the biggest benefit you will see is as you declutter your list, those blinders that you have on are going to get a little wider and a little wider. And suddenly guys that weren't in view before will start to come into the picture. And as you're editing that list, and even if it's just a mental edit, you're going to be open to more possibilities, which will only improve your dating odds.
No, you're absolutely right. I think about, I don't think there's a guy on the planet who fits all the stuff I had on my very first list. Now that I think about it, I'm
probably
like,
not on mine.
18-year-old Kristen had high expectations. 27, almost 28-year-old Kristen still has high expectations, but in a different way.
Sure.
In a more realistic way.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, let's move on.
Let's do. So tell us about our second thing to declutter. Your favorite.
My favorite. Yeah, this has been a recurring theme. Maybe it's a sign. The second thing we would recommend you declutter about your dating life is decluttering your online dating apps. Now, I know I'm not probably one to speak to this super.
What's your favorite part of dating online?
Yes, deleting them.
Getting rid of it.
It's like Hinge's tagline is like designed to be deleted. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about right there. Oh man, I'm like,
I'm gonna feel like you should probably clarify that. Not out of frustration.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, I've deleted it multiple times,
Same.
not for the reason it was designed for. Oh my gosh! But the first thing I thought of with this though is, I think particularly in the time we're in right now, where this seems to be the main way that we have to meet people, there could be this temptation to be, okay, I've got to be on Bumble. I've got to be on Hinge. I've got to be on Coffee Meets Bagel. I need to be on eHarmony. I need to be on Match, whatever.
The FOMO kicks in.
Yes. It's like, okay, I've got to widen the pool, cast the net wherever I can. And that can be 1, really overwhelming, 2, really exhausting.
Yeah.
And 3, probably lead to more frustration and temptation to give up than it will being like, oh, look at all the options I have. Because even just one of these makes you feel like you have all these options, especially the swiping ones. I was like, there just seems to be this endless amount of people. So it may not be a bad idea to say, hey, I'm going to pick 1, maybe 2. 1 if you want to get real crazy. 2 if you just want to kind of go, and then maybe just get off the others for a while. That's okay. And kind of narrow it down and narrow your focus, because it's like anything in life. When you've got 5 things you're doing at once, you're not doing any one of them usually to the best of your ability and giving it the time that you would like to. Whereas if you have 1 or 2 things, it's way easier to devote to those things, whether that's time, energy, mental space, whatever. And your experience will most likely be better. Even if you don't meet somebody, the process is going to be easier and more enjoyable than, oh my gosh, okay, let me carve out 2 hours. I got to go check all these things and like message all these people and whatever. What do you think?
I agree completely. My advice, I guess you could say, would be, if you're going to go that route of keeping a couple, consider, if budget allows, have 1 of the free swiping ones and then 1 subscription. that you've paid for. They're very different. The approach to both of them is different just based on the model, you know, the swiping versus not. And so I have found that kind of keeps some balance there. But if part of this decluttering is not paying for them, then I would say, yeah, pick a couple that are reputable, reliable. We've had several people ask recently about Christian online dating apps.
Yeah, I've seen that in our DMs.
Yeah,
that's been a pretty common question.
I have used Christian Mingle with success and would recommend it if that's the route you're wanting to go, for sure. Like, it's a good one. I mean, it's a site more than an app. Well, not really more, but like, it's not what you would typically think of when it comes to like apps. So when people ask about Christian dating apps, I have tried them and would not recommend any of them, unfortunately. They're just kind of behind. The ones I've been on, there's one specific one, and I don't really want to like name drop.
Yeah.
But every person I talked to very quickly was obviously some sort of like catfish type situation, whether it's, oh, this person is a bot. Like, you could tell, okay, this is not an actual, even a real person, stuff like that. And so there aren't many people to start with. And then every person that you're like swiping on is obviously, or like their pictures are very obviously not a real person. It's a stock type photograph.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just wouldn't really recommend.
Yeah. I know there was one night that Lauren texted me and she was like, so I've been reading reviews on new Christian dating apps for the past hour. She started like,
oh my word, that is
she's like,
funny.
It's pretty entertaining. But there were so many I hadn't heard of. And so I think, and I went back and read the reviews after she told me about them because it just looked fun. But the thing that was interesting was with a lot of these newer ones, it said they trended like college age.
Yeah.
But also that the amount of people was still really low because they were new. So that is something I would encourage you to kind of take into consideration. If you're going to get on a newer app, you either need to be okay with the fact that, hey, the selection isn't going to be as wide, or give it a little time, because in a year or two, especially with online dating going the way it's going right now, there may be a couple more that kind of come out of the woodwork. So there's patience there that's important. But yeah, I haven't heard anything like, I have yet to hear somebody like, oh, I met on name random Christian dating app, you know. So take that for what you will, people who have been asking. But I think if you can narrow it down, narrow your focus, and just dedicate your time and energy to one or two, I think you're going to have a better experience, and you're less likely, again, to get overwhelmed, annoyed, and just ready to throw your phone out a window. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that a lot of these decluttering, and I think this one specifically will help with, is that, you know, instead of going from burnout to burnout and that kind of being your dating cycle of going until you're absolutely burnt out and you completely need to take a break, and then you recover, and then you do the same thing again. This decluttering kind of helps you pace yourself in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good way to put it.
You avoid that cliff of burnout.
Oh yeah, I like that.
You know, you're able to maintain and you're able to continue going. And I think with this one, that is what you will find. And coming from someone who has been on that cycle of burnout to burnout for like, I am I'm well acquainted with that. I have taking the time to just step back. You don't have to stop completely, but taking that time to declutter, streamline, really think it through, that has helped me for sure.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay, so moving on to our next one. This one has kind of a two-part, this particular one. So the next thing you're going to want to do is declutter who you're talking to. So, Kristen, explain our breakdown here.
Yes, so we're going to segment this one. I want you to think about decluttering first who you're talking to in regards to getting advice on dating.
Mm-hmm. Cannot agree more.
Yes, so let's start there, and I'll leave you on a cliffhanger of what else we're going to talk about. But whether that's the people at your church, whether that's your family members,
Whether it's
certain
your great Aunt Sally.
Yes. Oh my gosh, who always seems to have an opinion. Your friends, certain friends have great advice. Other friends do not. Doesn't mean you need to stop being their friend.
No.
But I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends about this a couple weeks ago, where one of her really good friends, she was just like, I don't ask her for dating advice because it's just not ever really that good. And
yeah.
so I just don't really bring that part of my life up. Like it kind of goes, it's a very shallow conversation if it does come up, and I just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
And they're still great friends. Like, you don't need to cut people out of your life entirely. You just know, hey, this isn't something that I'm going to really go to them for advice for. Or if they offer it, understanding, hey, you don't have to take it.
Yes.
And that's something I'm really bad at, because I think if someone's giving me advice, then I should consider it.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'm sitting here. I've got my hand held up, and I was like, okay, when she gets done talking.
Yes.
Not that I don't mean like you're talking too much.
No.
I'm just saying, when she gets done, this is my signal for, I want to say something.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. Two things, really. One being, feel free to disregard the advice of someone you have not sought out. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying if they're right and you know it, you're like, well, I didn't ask you, so I'm not going to do what you said. That's not what I'm talking about. But if there's someone or multiple people in your life who feel the need or frequently like to interject their advice on your dating life into your life without your having ever asked for it, do not feel obligated that you have to take their advice at all.
The people in the back, are you listening?
For real. And yeah, if you are that person, if you find yourself constantly, or maybe not constantly, that's harsh, but like if you find yourself interjecting a lot when it's not really asked, or you're not really super close friends with someone, just kind of pause and think that through. Mm-hmm. But then the second thing I was going to point out, kind of going into that exact situation you were talking about of close friend, you don't want their dating advice, whatever. Know that about your friends, know who you want that advice from, and don't ask the people that you don't, for the purpose of, it can get really awkward if you ask someone for advice and you're doing it out of obligation, like you feel like you should ask them for advice, and then you don't take it. If that happens several times, it can kind of create some tension. And so I think that's wise to just not even ask that person for dating advice.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to, you're not going to want to follow it. And that just kind of brings up some unnecessary trouble sometimes, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think something I've done is I think of, okay, who are the 2, 3, 4 people that I really trust for their advice? Typically that's for things across the board, but particularly in dating, sometimes I feel like it can be a little different. But those are the people that I seek out for advice. And if I do get bad advice, those are the people I go to run it by, to say, okay, is this bad advice like I think it is, or is it just not what I want to hear?
Yes.
And I trust those people enough to be honest with me.
Exactly.
So it's so vital. Like, I can't stress this enough. We talk about all the time about the importance of community and having good friends and not dating in a bubble and all those things. This is why, because if you get too many voices coming at you at once, it's overwhelming. It makes things confusing. You second guess everything, and it can be really, really just burdensome, honestly, to try to take it all in, figure out what you're supposed to do, when a lot of this you didn't even ask for, or you don't even want, or it's not good. So take the time to, if you haven't already, think through, okay, who are at least 2 people who I trust, who are wise. I think at least one of them should be older than you.
Agreed.
And then if you want the other one to be a peer, I think that's great. If one of them could be married or recently married, even better, because then they've at least been in this. They kind of
have both sides.
Yeah. I think that's really good. But think about who those people are and kind of set those people aside in your mind. And so then when you do get the bad advice, or when you are kind of cutting those people off, okay, I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm not going to not know what to do. I'm not going to be having to make decisions by myself. I still have people in my corner, but it's the people I want there,
Yes.
not the people who are inserting themselves without my asking them to.
Agreed. Two final things, then we'll move on to our second group of people that you should declutter that you're talking to.
Yes.
But two things I want to say, talking about, narrowing that list down. I feel like there's probably two camps of people on the extreme here. One of those is probably hearing us say this and they're like, great, now I can just eliminate everyone. We're not saying that. Yep. And you talked about having those people, and I think that's so important. So if you tend towards that end of like, oh, well, perfect, I don't really want anyone's dating advice, I don't know that that's the best approach.
Yeah.
Then the other extreme though is probably there are people, and I've been this I've done this, we all do, where these people that are speaking into your life that you have asked for advice, that probably really are giving you the correct counsel, but it's not what you want to hear, it's not what you agree with, it's not whatever. So you keep bouncing from person to person, collecting people who will agree with what you already think and what you want to hear. That's not what we're saying either. It's not disregard the advice you don't like. It's disregard the advice that is not good, not solid, not biblical, not godly, not helpful, whatever it is. It's not disregard everything that you disagree with or makes you uncomfortable or makes you have to stretch out of your comfort zone. That's not what this means.
Yeah. You want a wise person, not a yes person.
Exactly.
So they are not the same thing.
Not at all.
So yes, go find your people or point them out.
Yes.
And trust me, you'll be so glad that you did. Okay. Next group of people you should stop talking to. We're going to call them the bad news boys, which we have decided we're going to do a full episode on this because it was just kind of...
It flowed
off the tongue.
These are the guys you should not be talking to.
Mm-hmm. And you know exactly who we're talking about.
All of you probably had one guy like pop in your head and you're like, oh yeah.
A few of you may have had a couple.
Oh, well, fair enough.
I mean, there's no judgment here. I'm just saying. There was probably...
It does not only have to be someone that you actually dated.
No, it doesn't.
That way too.
It doesn't. Just because you need a flirt fix, or you haven't been on a date in 6 months, or it's Friday night at 10 p.m. and you're watching a movie and you're halfway through a pint of ice cream. You're like, I just want to talk to a boy, and you text him. Nope. You put that phone down, girl.
Right. One, because they know what you're doing. I just had a guy reach out to me very recently who... I haven't gone out with him. I mean, we went out. We actually went out on a first date twice, which is a whole other story for a whole other day.
We got to work that in somewhere.
Our second first date was months ago. We ended it on a, hey, just not really feeling it. Like, this is just not a good romantic connection.
Real quick.
That was mutual.
Well...
It was said to be mutual.
Okay, that's what as Bethany's friend, I'm going to take her side on this one because Bethany communicated that it was...
And he agreed.
He agreed. My trust in his agreement, it's a little shaky, but that's all I'm going to say. But then again, I'm the biased friend.
Right.
Continue.
Thank you for being on my side.
You're very welcome.
So he reached out to me.
You cheered for me in tennis the other night, so I'm returning the favor.
Yes, thank you. He reached out randomly after... 6 months at least
it may have been longer.
It was last summer anyway, totally with the hey, thinking about you, how you been, da 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 da. And I'm like, I can see through I totally can see through that. So guys know what you're doing, the same thing. I didn't mean to totally get off on this tangent. It just was a pertinent example, in real time. But that's not cool.
No.
Especially in this case, I had zero feelings. I was not interested at all. But especially if you know that the guy would be receptive, if he's into it, if he kind of likes you and it's fun to chat for a while and then move on to other things, that is not okay.
No, and you're only going to end up being like super confused and disappointed at the end of it because there is this part of you, even if it's hard to admit, it's okay. You'll come around. I have multiple times. But there's this part of you that's like, oh, I'll text him. And like, yeah, we're just, this is kind of what we do. But maybe it'll actually turn into
You
something
convince
this
yourself
time.
it might be different.
It might
now,
be different this time.
when it's good and well.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And I've done this before.
I have too.
There was a guy in high school, actually. This is so weird. I was actually, I saw him the other night. We're friends now. Like, it's not weird.
Yeah.
And it never turned into anything. He's married with kids
Yeah.
now. Anyway, but I just thought, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like I used to text him because he was fun to flirt with. And I'm like, oh, maybe maybe he kind of likes me. And he never did. But and I'm like, that's such a Kristen thing to do and to think. But then I'm like, no, it's not. That's just a girl thing or a single person thing to do.
For real though.
So as much as you want to, and as tempting as it is, like we've all been there, it will not end well.
No.
And so,
very rarely.
Look at you throwing in the caveat instead of me.
I'm sure someone somewhere has texted someone that they shouldn't have texted really, and it worked out. Now they're happily married with 5 kids. Like, I'm sure there's someone somewhere.
Good for them.
So I can't say never, but
highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So I would say the thing I have done that's helped me is I have either Bethany or Melanie that I will text and be like, hey, really want to text? Because as soon as you verbalize it to a friend, they're going to be like, nope.
Let me give you the 47 reasons why this is a bad idea.
Exactly. Yes. It's those wise people, not the yes people. Do not text your yes friend for this. Do not. Because they'll be like, oh, yeah, sure. See what happens. You haven't talked to him in a while. No, you talk to the friends who you know are going to be honest with you. And if one, they'll distract you because then you're talking to somebody that's not this boy.
Yes.
And two, they will bring you back down to reality, remind you, hey, remember when you regretted it last time you did this?
Yep.
Hey, remember when he was a jerk here? Hey, remember when he thought he liked you and really he didn't and he was just flirting with you? Hey, remember how annoyed you got?
Need I go on?
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll have all those reasons for you.
Those just are rapid fire. We girls, we don't forget anything when it comes to this kind of stuff.
For real.
So, and this is when it comes in handy. So text that friend, that person who can, pull you back from the cliff and say, hey, not the best idea. But, and again, I think I've touched on this semi-recently, but if you need to unfollow that guy on social media, if you need to block him, if you need to delete his number out of your phone, whatever you need to do. I saw, is it Emily Wills? Is that her name? Or Wilker? Not Wilkerson.
I don't know.
The girl, maybe, I don't know if you were the one that told me about her. No, it was Maria that told me about her.
I don't think so. This is not ringing a bell.
I'm sorry. She is on Instagram. She is married with a couple kids, but she does a lot of content on dating and marriage.
Okay.
Super great. I'll link her in the newsletter. But she did a post the other day about you will not regret protecting your heart and you're not being mean by putting up boundaries. So if you need to block, delete, unfollow, unfriend, that's not being mean. That's putting up a boundary that you need.
Yep.
And you're going to regret more if you don't put up the boundary and you keep crossing the line than if you just put the wall there and stay within those confines.
Agree.
So she said it a lot better than I just did. So you can go back at that and look at that post. But
totally agree.
That was such a good reminder for me of, hey, because that's the people pleaser in me. It's like, I don't want to hurt his feelings. He's going to think I'm being mean. He's going to think I'm bitter. He's going to think I'm a jerk, whatever.
He's going to think I'm not over him.
Yes. That I have to do. Who cares what he thinks?
Well, he does not matter anymore.
No.
And I don't mean that in a mean way.
No.
But by continuing to worry about that, you're still giving this guy, I don't want to be dramatic, but you're still giving him control over your life. Like his existence is still dictating your actions. And that's whether you have romantic feelings for him or not really, you need to get past that part, and you can block, you can quit following, you can whatever it is without being rude. You don't have to text him and be like, hey, I'm blocking you just so you know, it's nothing personal, bye. Like, don't do that, because then no matter what you do, it's like, oh, it is personal. Like,
just do it.
Yeah.
Well, and fun fact, he has to actually go search for you to figure it out,
Exactly.
which is another issue that'll be for another day, but he doesn't get notified. So just do it. So as easy. Nike,
Yeah.
every time you put on your
all you gotta
sneakers,
do.
there's your reminder. But yeah, I think if you can declutter who you're talking to from an advisory standpoint and from the Bad News Boys group, you're gonna be so much less likely to have regrets.
Yeah.
On both fronts.
Yeah, I feel like that last one is like, and another episode from the Chronicles of Things Bethany and Kristen tell you to do that are way easier said than done.
Exactly. That should have been the name of the podcast.
Easier said
than done. Here's all the dating advice you need to follow, but
we struggle to follow as well.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the last thing on our list, there's a word.
We're working on our words.
Yes. The last thing we suggest you should declutter from your dating life.
Yes.
Is what, Bethany?
It is decluttering your schedule. And what I mean by that is, I should say what we mean.
It was Bethany's idea. It's fine. I agree, though. I wholeheartedly agree.
Fine. I will go back and redo it then. Okay. So when we're talking about decluttering your schedule, it's from the standpoint of, if there are a lot of activities in your schedule that are not going to benefit you in a dating capacity, if dating is something that you want in your life, then you need to declutter the things that aren't furthering that goal. And there is nothing wrong with doing that. We talk about don't sit around and wait, live your life, do your things, all of that. And we don't mean that from the standpoint of swinging so far to the other extreme of saying, I don't need a man, I don't want to date, I don't want to whatever. If you want to date and you want to be with someone and you want to get married, there is nothing wrong with verbalizing that. And there is nothing wrong with taking actions to pursue that goal just like you would anything else.
Preach. Sorry, keep going.
The outcome of it may not be under your control, but the small steps you take now to put yourself in a good position for that are under your control. And there's nothing wrong with taking those steps. So I'm not trying to tell you only do things that have the possibility of meeting someone, of going on a date, of whatever. That's not what I'm saying. That would be so contradictory to everything we talk about. But if your schedule is so chock full of stuff that you can't go do things that will put you in a place of meeting people, and that's something you want, you really need to look at decluttering your current schedule and shifting it to a different one.
Yeah. Well, it's all about prioritization here.
Yeah.
And you've got to figure out, okay, what are my top priorities in my life, and does my schedule reflect that? That's something that's probably some of the greatest advice I've ever been given. I don't even remember who gave it to me, but it was like the way you spend your time reflects your priorities. Yeah. And
I really wanted to be like, oh, I was the one that told you that. The greatest dating advice you ever heard.
Yes.
That wasn't me.
If you look at your schedule and it's not reflecting what you want your priorities to be, then that's what needs to change, because the change is going to come from that. And again, it's not like Bethany's saying, we're saying don't do anything that doesn't benefit your dating life. But I know, at least I've heard a lot of girls who will say, I'm too busy to date right now. I have too many things going on. Even if I got asked out, I don't even know when I would go.
And then on the flip side, they're like, why am I not meeting anyone?
Single?
Why don't I? Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, even if it's just, it doesn't necessarily have to be a 1-for-1 thing of, hey, I'm going to stop doing this and start doing this. Hey, I'm going to put this on the shelf for a while, so I have a couple free nights a week. So if I meet a guy and he asks me out, I can say, oh yeah, I have Tuesday open. Would you like to go get dinner?
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Now, it's not hold Tuesdays open for the rest of your life indefinitely. Plan things if something comes up. But just have the margin, have the space so that if something does happen, you're at a place to move forward with that.
Yeah.
Don't be so overcommitted that adding one more commitment would be derailing to your life.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give an example here as I'm thinking like, okay, what's something like we can specifically say. So back in last summer, I guess, I was kind of looking at my schedule, and my mom and I, were having the conversation, probably leading to online dating, but that doesn't
sound like you.
I think actually this was even before quarantine hit.
Oh, this has been a while.
This has been a while.
Okay.
Isn't that sad that we have to say that? It's been
Right?
a while.
Doesn't it? But I feel like that there's still that time warp of all
Totally.
of last year that it does not seem like it was a whole year.
Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about kind of just my life in general. And I was like, okay, I have these friends and I have these friends. And
Was I on the list?
You were.
Okay, good.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You made the cut. But I was thinking like, okay, well, I do this with my, group of friends, and then I have work, and obviously I work with, 2 married men and 2 married girls and me. So there's that.
No prospects there.
Yes. And then, I hang out with my family, and that was kind of my life. And my mom was like, you're not really in a place where you're meeting new people. And so, I was doing all these super fun things. I'm still doing all those things.
Right.
But I've added things into my schedule that have allowed me to meet new people. I am now coaching, which I was telling Bethany, I'm like, there were some cute guys at this basketball game I was at the other night. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to date any of them, but I was like, at least to start.
Fun to look at.
It was at least to start. But I started coaching. I'm going to these basketball games. I am playing tennis, which I didn't realize mixed doubles. You're playing a lot of married couples, but not all of them are married. So you never know. But just trying to do a few different things that get me around some different people. And who knows where that will lead. And it's also not constant all year long. Are there busier seasons? Yes. Are there times where, hey, I've got 5 out of my 7 nights are open this week? Yes. And there's that ebb and flow to it, but it's not, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these things and I constantly have plans, but I'm not meeting anyone or putting myself in a position to where something might develop. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here is, and there are a couple of things that like, okay, I don't do that as much anymore. I still do it from time to time, but okay, well, that wasn't really on the priority list. So kind of got, pushed down the list. I don't get to cross everything off or like I'm doing nothing except going to speed dating and singles cruises. And that is it. That's not what we're saying.
Oh, man.
But yeah, just,
a singles cruise will be fun to go on just to people watch.
Oh my gosh, literally.
Like I can't even imagine.
I would probably just look horrible the whole time so nobody would try to talk to me, and then I could just sit there, put my hair up in a hat with sunglasses and a book and just kind of like just look around. Oh my gosh.
That would be so much fun.
Let's plan it.
Let's totally do it.
Let's do it.
We could get several episodes out of that.
Oh my gosh. We can do a whole
interviews, like talk to people.
So we can do on our YouTube channel.
Yes. I am liking where this is going. Not gonna lie.
You're welcome. If y'all want us to go on a singles cruise and document the whole thing,
please
you can
let
just
us know.
send us a DM.
We will sacrifice for you guys.
Yes. If you also want to become patrons so we can fund it, that would be
great too.
Oh gosh, no.
That is funny.
But yeah, I think there's a balance here, but if you can just look at your schedule and say, okay, how can I, if dating, like Bethany said, if dating is a priority and you really want that, does the way I'm spending my time reflect that? And if it doesn't, then that's where you evaluate what changes need to be made.
I completely agree. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it. That completes our list, you guys.
Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out with us or bearing with us or whatever state you were in on that. We appreciate you either way.
Yes, we do.
We will be back Friday, I think, with a backstage pass. Is that correct?
That is correct.
At me, we will. And if I'm remembering correctly, this Friday we will be talking about, we got a great question from one of our guy listeners about dating within the church and how it pertains to possibly dating a friend of your ex. And you all go to the same church, which we had lots of thoughts on. So we are excited for you guys to hear that. That will be Friday, so tune in then. And then we'll be back next Wednesday, as always, with another episode. But until then, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.